Here in Key West, we were out before it was in. In this open and inclusive paradise, you can be yourself, make new friends, and savor our live and let live vibe. With LGBTQ plus friendly accommodations, our legendary nightlife, and year-round activities and events, it's always a good time to come as you are. Key West, close to perfect, far from normal.
Hey, it's Cole Swindell, and when I spend 200 days a year rolling down the highway, the bus can start to feel smaller than a guitar case. Everyone wonders how I stay chill while the hours crawl by. Truth is, one good luck spent on Chumba, and suddenly the trip feels a whole lot shorter. Finding your space, even when there isn't much to spare. Need some chill? Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus TNC Supply. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Season 7 of Sun Coaches Podcast is proudly brought to you by Titan Sensor. Season 7. That was my number in high school, so maybe this will be lucky for us. We'll see. You know, I've learned over time that when somebody's talking about something you really don't want to talk about, you just can always throw in there, hey, I knew this guy once, and then just pretty much make up whatever you want to, and they won't listen to it. They'll get off track. And you don't have to talk about the uncomfortable thing anymore. Coach, like we do every week, tell everybody where you grew up and where you're from. Sun Coaches Podcast, where not everybody has a funny story, but everybody has a story. Hope you enjoy Season 7 of Sun Coaches Podcast. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sensor for Season 6 and 7. Titan is made in the USA. Proudly founded and based in Texas. When you connect with Titan, you are not alone. You can collaborate and share templates with other coaches across the country to build reports and foster competition. Used by programs such as State 6A Georgia State champion Grayson High School, Titan can tailor a package to fit your needs. The eye in the sky never lies. Improve your team's performance with Titan. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 7, and today I'm excited to be joined by the head coach at Calvary in Savannah, Coach Jason Cameron. Thanks for being on with us.
Coach, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Well, Coach, tell everybody where you grew up and went to high school.
Oh, well, man, I'm way far from Georgia. You know, I grew up in Cliffside Park, New Jersey. Never thought I'd ever move to Georgia. Never been to Georgia, and so I met my beautiful wife up there. But I grew up in Cliffside Park, New Jersey. Played football, basketball, and baseball there, and even attended college up in northern New Jersey, not too far from home.
So that's what I normally ask people. What all did you play in high school? And most people, you know, within a certain age range, they played everything.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I was probably more of a basketball player than anything. Scored a bunch of points in high school, and that was my dream, was to go to play big-time college basketball. So, and that's what I did. I played college basketball at William Patterson, a small school up in North Jersey, and you know, I was lucky to kind of graduate from there, and unlucky a little bit because it was right in the middle of the recession, so there was really no jobs and stuff like that. So I latched on in my hometown and was able to coach basketball and football and do a little permanent subbing, and kind of started my coaching career really young, but right at 22 years old.
What for those of us that have no idea where Cliffside, New Jersey is? What was it, near Trenton, or was it closer?
No, sir. It's actually I'm North Jersey. I could stare at New York City skyline from the back of my town. So I was right by like the George Washington Bridge. I could be no traffic which there's never no traffic, but I could be in, you know, Yankee Stadium in about 15 minutes.
Holy smokes. What for people like for me anyway, that's
yeah.
I hate Atlanta. I couldn't imagine living up there.
It's funny. It's just different. You know, there's multiple ways to get places. You know, I feel like Atlanta, you're kind of stuck. You know what I'm saying? There's just kind of one way to get there. And you kind of bob and weave and maneuver some up there compared to that Atlanta traffic.
Yeah, my wife's family's from upstate New York, and I remember one time we flew into Newark, and when we were flying to Buffalo from there, because her family lives in Rochester.
Oh yeah, way up there.
Yeah, so we went to, actually I think we flew into Rochester, but anyway, we were on the plane in Newark, and we hang a right or left or whatever it was, and everybody was like, well, did you get to see New York City? And I was like, yeah, from the window of an airplane, and it looked like somebody had put like Legos Like, it didn't look real. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I couldn't imagine growing up in that area.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's way different than what people think. You know, now no one's gonna ask you how you're doing or you know really kind of care what you're doing. But you know, if you're in New York, you ask people for directions, or you're on the subway and need to know a train, they help you out and stuff like that. So that kind of they're not always polite, but they're friendly from time to time.
So did you go to a big high school, or was it for that area?
Medium size. You know, I think you know probably maybe a 3A school here, 2A school, Georgia.
Okay. That's interesting.
But you know, it's funny. You know, our you know, I brought my father-in-law up there, and he was a lifer of Savannah, never wanted to leave. You know, had no desire to go to New Jersey, let alone New York, and you know, he just couldn't believe that, like, you know, our football field's in the middle of a town. You know, and there's houses like on the perimeter of the field. You know, it's just fenced in, and they just throw one down where they got some room.
Yeah. So when you went to college and you were playing basketball, I guess you knew you were going to teach and coach, or that's what you wanted to do if basketball didn't work out?
Yeah, that was it. You know, and it's weird because I feel like every one of my coaches up there was a history teacher of some sort of, you know, geography or something. So I actually was a history major in college. Never stepped foot in a history classroom in my entire life, but that was my major. And yeah, I just knew I was going to teach and coach, and eventually would love to be an athletic director of some sort, you know, later on down the road.
And you said you started off at your hometown, at your
I did.
school as a full-time sub and got
Full-time
on there.
sub. I did. And they kind of got me going. And then, you know, how I met my wife was actually, she's from Savannah. She went to Jenkins High School where I started my head coaching career. And she was up there. She dated a guy in college that played baseball that was from Cliffside Park and visited. And she said, you know what? She's a city girl now. She loved it up there. So that's actually kind of met her while I was teaching up there. And, you know, then we ended up moving to Savannah.
So when you moved to Georgia, was Jenkins your first job in
Jenkins,
Georgia?
I moved down in November of 2011. So I kind of missed that football season. But I started teaching special education at Jenkins in November of 2011.
And you came as the head football coach, or you came as an assistant?
No. I was offense coordinator in New Jersey for 4 years before I left. And then went to Jenkins. I just coached quarterbacks and, you know, helped out a little bit on defense. And then that following year, and would be 2013, I became the OC then.
Okay. And how long were you the OC there?
I took over the head coach job in 2017. So I was the OC for 4 years, and then took over the head coaching job in 2017.
2017. So you were 6 years in. How was Savannah for you? I mean, obviously you liked it because you're back there.
It was great. You know, yeah, it was great. We enjoyed it. You know, Brooks, my wife's family was from here, so we had family here. And then, you know, eventually, you know, my mom and dad moved down. You know, they had retired and was tired of the cold, and they moved down. Unfortunately, my dad was only down here for about 8-9 months. He played golf every day that he possibly could because, you know, you're on a time crunch up there, and he loved golf. But he passed away about 8 months into living here, unfortunately. But yeah, my mom's been down since I believe it was 2019, and she loves it too. We enjoy it.
Okay, I've got a brother that lives in Savannah. He actually lives in Thunderbolt.
Okay,
so he loves it. I mean,
it's nice now. It's good living. You're by the coast. You know, real proximity to the beach downtown. You got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I took a kid down there to go try out at Savannah State baseball kid, and he had never been anywhere. And I tried to explain to him that Savannah's really like three towns. You've got the beach, and then you've got downtown, which is the old historic stuff, and River Street and all that stuff. And then you've got the rest of Savannah.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
You know, and he didn't have, he didn't know. And so I let him do all three things. We did a little bit of everything. We went out to the beach and ate, and then we did River Street that evening, and then we kind of hung out in Savannah proper around the college. So, so that was pretty cool. So what was your first head coaching experience like? I mean, you took over for somebody and you'd been there, so you knew the kids. So what was transitioning into sitting in the big chair like for you?
You know, it was good. It was, listen, it's you think you have it all figured. As the assistant, you're not in the big chair, but you got it all figured out. I remember going in the spring. I was hired really, really late. Tim Adams stepped away from it after spring break. So, we have spring practice on the table and this and that, and bam, I take over. I remember sitting there the night before spring practice, realizing like I never ordered like mouthpieces or anything. So I had no clue, you know. So it's kind of just little things like that. I remember thinking you had it all figured out, and you're like, oh crap, yeah, we need those, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience. It's you know, when you coach in Chatham County, you don't have the most resources. That's that. So from, you know, you got to do a lot on your own. You fundraise on your own. You our most successful year there, my last year, we went to the semifinals. We didn't have a home practice field or a weight room because of construction. So it's just, you know, you kind of learn to adapt, and I'm glad I did that at a younger age, I guess you could say. I just feel like it's kind of made me a better coach. I've done walkthroughs in the lunchroom before. I've done conditioning in the science wing because it was the longest hallway to run. So you kind of make do.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that, and especially, especially when there's construction going on, there's things you just can't control. I know right now they're building a track around our practice field, so we either practice in the stadium or we practice on the cross country field, which has about a 37-degree tilt to it, and you know we had to paint lines and do all that stuff. But kids are literally running downhill, so I can finally say I've got a downhill running back now.
No doubt. I'll tell you, and that's probably one of my favorite things to do as a head coach was paint the practice field. I absolutely loved it. That was my job. I didn't want my assistants doing it. Heck, I wasn't paying them enough to do it. And I would, you know, once we got the template, now getting the template's awful. But once you had it, I enjoyed just throwing some headphones on and going out there and painting the practice field.
Well, crap, Coach, now that they've got turf tank, that's what we use, and that thing is, man, I remember last year at school I was at, got it, and when that guy came and did the presentation, I sat out there and watched for 3 hours just shaking my head like, this is the most awesome thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And I'm like, well, what if it's wrong? He's like, it ain't going to be wrong. He's like,
that's my thing.
Your fences might be wrong. Your goalposts might be wrong. This is not going to be wrong.
That's amazing. I always wondered how that stuff works, man. It's amazing to me. I'm 39 years old, but I'm probably the least technology person you'll ever meet. And like how that thing just paints an entire football field is amazing to me.
Oh, you should see it. It's something serious. And I don't even know how people that still have grass fields and have a lot of facilities. I don't know why you wouldn't go with them to do that, because it's just, it saves so much time. So much better. But I get it. I'm a cut the grass guy. Yeah, like I'd rather cut the grass if they paid me the same amount of money to cut all the school grounds, the athletic facilities as they do to teaching coach. I would just cut grass.
Oh yeah, listen, I have a good buddy of mine. He's the head softball coach at Effingham High School. He does a great job. He was the head softball coach at Vidalia when he books his hotels for Columbus the year before. You know, he's getting back there type of guy, and he that's his thing, man. If he could live on a lawnmower, coach softball, and cut grass, that would be his life right there.
That's what I'm talking about. So, how long you were the head coach at Jenkins for? What, 3-4 years?
3 years. I was head coach for 3 years at Jenkins, and I left in 2020 to take the Vidalia job. Okay. And that was a funny story too, because the day that I was hired in February, Chatham County wouldn't let me out of my contract until I believe it was March, and the first day in Vidalia was the day the world shut down for COVID.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so I ran a football program in Vidalia, Georgia, from Savannah, from a computer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you said you had to adapt, adjust, and overcome. So
yeah, that's right.
So what prompted you to jump on the Vidalia Indians?
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. CT&C's 21+. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
It's training up the road. Just better resources.
Of course, you know, it was obviously, you know, from a financial standpoint, it was something that we couldn't pass up. It obviously, you know, it was a storied program. And as far as, you know, Coach Stroud and I have had a relationship for a long time prior to me even coming to Calvary. And the rumor was that he was taking the Vidalia job. And, you know, I was kind of still green to Georgia in the sense of knowing how much success he had at Toombs. And I wasn't really accustomed to the Vidalia Toombs rivalry yet. So I didn't realize that, like, man, I don't think he can take that job, from being coaching at Toombs. That's kind of like, I don't think his wife would have let him do it. I think, she's the biggest Toombs lover and Vidalia hater there is. So I don't think she would have let him do it. But I actually called him and said, listen, coach, if you're taking Vidalia, I want to be considered for Calvary. And that was, like I said, in 2020, which is funny. And then we talked and he said, no, this is something that you got to go for. You're a perfect fit for it. You should. And he obviously made some phone calls for me. And, listen, we went up there. I applied for it. Brooke and I went up there on a Sunday and just drove around some. And I said, listen, Brooke, it's going to be different. There's no doubt, but difference not terrible. And, we could adapt to things, and it'll be a great experience for us. And it was a great experience. We met great people, and it helped me in my coaching career be ready for a job like Calvary.
So you got to coach at Buck Cravey Field.
I did.
And we played them a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time I'd been over there, and outstanding facilities and good people. And
yeah, definitely. Now it's funny. It was grass when I was still there. I helped design the field prior to leaving. And listen, it came out great. It's a beautiful complex. They keep that thing spotless. They take so much pride in their facilities and stuff. I don't know if you went upstairs in the field house and saw the viewing rooms and all that stuff. It's an awesome. When my first year there, we won the region championship and we kind of had it rolling some. It's a cool city when football's rolling.
Yeah, it's also one of those places that, when Vidalia was very successful, Toombs was not so much. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of flipped. Like Toombs is got the dudes, and Vidalia's kind of, and that's weird. And it's like that in a lot of places that have a city school and have a city school system and a county school system. It's right. Very, very few places where both are going to be successful, especially when they're near about in size.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and like right down the road from each other, and it's just like I said, Toombs has got it rolling right now. They got some dudes everywhere. Coach Martin's doing an awesome job over there.
Yeah, we went to OTA with them this summer, their thing over there, and I just remember it being really, really hot.
Oh yeah, and Vidalia and Toombs, the hottest places in the world, I think. It's hot in Savannah, don't get me wrong, and it's hot in Dodge County, but like, golly, man, it just felt like Vidalia was on another level.
It's hot, and it's not like winds move. Yeah, the air don't move. There's no sea breeze coming in.
No
mountains to block them. No
sir,
ain't nothing down there but gnats and hot.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and football players. Mm-hmm. And people that are fired up about football and that kind of support, that right. makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So how long were you at Vidalia before you
3 years in Vidalia.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 years in Vidalia. Left there, was going to go to, I was kind of deciding whether to possibly go to Lowndes High School, possibly go to Westlake High School in Atlanta. And I can't do it. We're talking about traffic, and I know I'm from New Jersey, but I just couldn't do the traffic up there. And I don't know, Coach Stroud called, and unfortunately my wife's dad was sick at the time, and it just felt right. I went up there, and I've known Coach Stroud forever, so I just thought to myself, learning from him, and kind of understanding that it was, kind of the transition was going to be made when he chose to leave. And I told him, I said, Coach, I don't care if you're here 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I'm gonna ride with you. Him and I have a phenomenal relationship, so it just felt right, to be honest with you. It just felt like it was a really, really good fit. I met with the headmaster, and his vision is awesome. He wants to be good at everything, which I love. I'm kind of not the football coach that just cares about football. Like I want, I'll go to the school play and hope it's awesome type guy. So that's his vision. So it just seemed like a right fit. I'm, obviously the head coach there, and my wife's a teacher there, and my son goes there. So it's kind of a family affair, and it's been a great, great move for us.
Yeah, getting to coach with and learn from one of the true legends of Georgia high school football, and not just as a football coach, but one of the most well thought of men, leading young people it has to be pretty awesome to have that guy to bang ideas
Coach,
off of.
It was priceless, Coach. It was I learned more in 2 years than I learned in my previous. I think I'm on year 16, so we do the math, whatever the math is. I learned more in 2 years, just more about football's football and kids are kids, but the way that he just handles certain situations, the way he handles himself on sideline. I changed on the sideline. I'm definitely more, I guess, energetic, passionate than him on the sidelines at times. But man, the guy could stay so calm in the most chaotic moments, and you always could tell that it kind of bled over to the kids. Our kids never got too crazy, and I think it was all because of him. Yeah,
it definitely makes a difference when they're looking to you, as you know, and that's why I tell my position group, I'm like, if I'm not worried, then you don't need to be worried.
That's right.
And then, when bombs are going off, whatever, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, do I look concerned? No. Okay. Well, then let's not worry about it and keep moving forward. Of course, it's easy to say when you're a position coach and you're not.
Of course,
you're not in charge of the whole shooting match. But
listen, I told Coach Stroud that this year at one point. Some stuff, the head coach and stuff was going on. I said, man, I enjoyed this the last 2 years, just scoring some points, getting in my truck, and going home. I didn't have to deal with any of this crap.
Yeah, phone calls and.
Oh yeah, don't stop.
And Dylan, yes, Coach Davis at Spalding, I coached with him at Burke County, and he's a good friend of mine. And he was funny when we did the podcast and recorded. He was like, "Yeah, when you're the head coach, your phone you're never off because somebody's going to call about something, whether it's a teacher or another coach or somebody on your staff or one of your kids or a parent or
it doesn't matter what time or the day of the week,
or a guy wanting to do a podcast or
I'll tell you that's when that coach's wife comes in, man. You got to have a special one in our profession. I'd say I'm young, but any younger coach than me, I said, man, listen, if you want to stay in this thing for a long time, you got to have the right lady by your side, man, because they're special, man. They deal with a lot of different emotions from us, man. I'll tell you that I wasn't the happiest guy this weekend, and she gets the brunt of it. So they're a special group.
So you go into Calvary, and it's your third head coaching job. And obviously it's a little bit different situation they're all different.
All different.
But you're in a different situation than you started out in. What are some things that you may have changed going into this one as far as, your idea for the program and putting your stamp on it and that kind of thing than what you initially started with?
I think when I started at Jenkins, I was young. I didn't have really a care in the world. I learned on the fly a little bit and kind of ad-libbed some, and we had success and this and that. Vidalia, I went in kind of something that I'd never do, kind of trying to appease people, I think, at times, and I wanted to make sure that I was kind of doing it the right way. This one, I kind of walked in and I said, I'm obviously gonna, it's a tradition, it's the foundation's laid and this and that at Calvary, but I'm gonna do it my way, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring some new things onto the table and continue to grow on some of the old things rather than kind of falling back to what we've always done it this way type mentality. So I think that's probably the biggest kind of difference. I'll tell you the best thing that happens to me is first private Christian school I've ever been a part of. So being able to growing my faith has probably been, and my family's faith has probably been the best thing that's happened to me, better than any win or loss that could happen. Being able to, proclaim Jesus and be able to, pray with your team and praise God in chapel and things like that has been just a great experience for me, and something that I've never experienced before, just being always, a public school guy.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. I know last week I had Tommy Lewis on at Landmark Christian, and he's always worked at private Christian schools. And he said it was for that reason that he's always done that.
Yeah, and my 9-year-old is now, I hope he graduates from Calvary, because he's going to have parts of him that I never had, because I've been a public school kid. And even listen, up north, it's just different. It's you don't pray in public school because there's people of so many different backgrounds and things like that. It's almost frowned upon, which now that I'm in a Christian school, it's crazy to me that that's frowned upon. So it's been great for me and my family, and it's something that I've really enjoyed. We have a team chaplain, Pastor P, we call him, and I just lean on him so much because he's a coach, which is awesome. He helps with our baseball team, he helps with our football team, but he's our team chaplain. So I lean on him so much, from the faith side of things, and guiding me in the right direction with it. So that's been another resource that I've had at Calvary that I've never had before.
Well, what are some things, regardless of which head coaching job you took, what were all right, step 1, do this. Day 4, make sure I have this done. Like when you got ready to establish your program at all 3 places, was it the weight room first? Was it staff first? I mean, what was your attack? How did you attack those aspects of building your programs?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is you always got to focus on the weight room first, and have your strength staff, if it's not yourself, kind of in place first, because they're with your kids every day. And next was our staff. I'm big with. At Jenkins, I think I made 3 hires the entire time I was there. I retained a lot of guys because I worked with them, and they were 3 home run hires. They were former head coaches, so I'm never kind of afraid to hire guys that are probably better coaches than I am. I don't have any pride when it comes to that. And, going to Vidalia, I wanted to get some more, pick some people's brains, some more like, it sounds crazy, kind of more community involvement and get that buzz going back in Vidalia, which I tried to do, and get the teachers involved. I think every stop that I've made in R3 I really, really try to bridge the gap between sport and teacher. I think, there's sometimes as the head football coach, you don't always have the greatest relationship, or sometimes there's a power struggle with you and the teachers. I try to kind of mend that gap really, really early with getting them involved in the program. We started up something in Vidalia, which was awesome. We called it My Jersey, Your Impact. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter and this and that, but we each on senior night, that afternoon, we had our seniors kind of make we framed it and this and that, and they handed it to a teacher that impacted them with their jersey, and asked them, you don't have to wear the jersey to the game, but just bring it with you because how much you impacted me throughout this entire time. So just little things like that to try to bridge the gap between teacher and sport, and I think that's been a huge success. And with Calvary now, the biggest thing is I'm not just head football coach. I'm technically the program director for pre-K through 12th, because we got that on campus. So I try to be heavily involved and hands-on with all aspects football at Calvary.
That's awesome, because you literally get to watch them grow up.
It's really we have on Monday nights it's flag football that's got ages first grade through fourth. My son plays for our little 10U team that we have called the Crusaders. Then we have 5th through 8th play, and then obviously our JV and varsity team. So it's busy now. We're busy Monday through Friday, but it's worth it, man. I love being hands on. I'm very hands on with our parents. They all know me. They all have my phone number, email, and like I said, pre-K through 12th. And if there's an issue or even something to brag about, I love hearing about it.
Well, everybody these days, the latest buzzword over the past couple of years has been vertical aligned, and making sure you're aligned with administration.
That's right.
And you can't be much more aligned than...
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Than pre-K through 12.
Yeah. And again, when you have a headmaster, because I learned this too. I learned this, administration is super important. When I was at Vidalia, I was hired by John Sharp, who's probably one of the greatest guys I've ever met in my entire life. And he leaves and new administration comes. Administration is so important. I told the guy that's on my staff that's like dying to become a head coach, I said, in my opinion, administration is more important than players at times, especially for, job security and for you personally. And so our headmaster at Calvary is a former football coach. He actually coached with Donald Chumley coached him, and then he went back and coached with Donald Chumley, who was his offensive coordinator at times. So he's a sports guy. He's a football guy. So it's a great guy to work for. He just gets it.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference, especially when you get sometimes administrators roll in and they come from other places and they don't really understand, they may have come from Odessa, Texas, or, somewhere like that, and they're at somewhere in Georgia that ain't.
Yes.
And I don't understand why we're not winning. Well, you ain't where you were.
That's right.
And
sometimes, listen, and this, like 5-5 for a team is like a state championship.
Oh, there ain't no doubt.
Phenomenal football. My second year at Vidalia, we went 3-8. And it arguably is probably, in my opinion, one of the best coaching jobs myself and the staff has done. We had graduated like 22 seniors from Vidalia, which that is a huge senior class. And we played with a bunch of sophomores and juniors. And minus getting our butt kicks pretty good by Swainsboro that year, we lost by like an average of like 6 points. Like we were in every football game. We took Westside Augusta in the first round of the playoffs down to the wire. We lost on a 48-yard field goal to lose the game as time expired, with a bunch of babies. And it was just something like you looked up and our record was awful, but golly, we did such a good job of preparing them every day.
Well, and some of these administrators don't understand that sometimes you're in a position, you graduate a lot, or you could be in a place that doesn't have tradition, that doesn't, have quote unquote football athletes or kids that love to play football, and you get them out there and you're you're ministering to them in a different kind of way. You're keeping them in class. You're keeping them out of trouble. You're keeping them off the streets, and that could be saving kids' lives.
That's
if
why
you win games, great, you know.
Yep.
That's not always the most important thing, because they only give out 6 trophies.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, most of the time going into the season, we can sit back and we can get within 5 or 6 of who's got a shot every year.
That's right.
And some of these people come in and they don't understand that, you know, it's just not feasible. Like you said, going 5-5 might be the best you're going to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. And well, you just hit the nail on the head. I think what the casual fan don't see, and what certain, like you said, administrators, and it's so much bigger than wins and losses for me and most coaches. Is, you know, we have the chance to save some of these kids' lives. It doesn't matter where you coach. You know, I'm at Calvary, and we have some kids that struggle. We have kids that don't have the best home life, or someone's sacrificing tremendously to get them a private school education, but they're struggling. You know, that's where we come in. It's so much bigger than touchdowns and wins, when you could shape young people and hopefully, you know, you go back to Jenkins or Vidalia even, you know, you save some of these kids, because if they weren't playing football, God only knows what they'd be doing.
Oh, there ain't no doubt. I mean, the average everyday person, they don't care, because most people don't keep up with high school football like we think they do. Mm-hmm. But then the people in the community that do, they don't always understand, you know, what those kids go through from the time they get up in the morning and coach had to go get them, and coach had to run and go grab them some breakfast because there wasn't no food in the house. Or,
that's right.
You know, kids having a hard time in school, or somebody's messing with them, or they're, you know, they don't have a phone because they don't have the means to have a phone, but all their friends have a phone, so they get picked on because they don't have a phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just don't understand the nuances and everything that we have to deal with, you know, and our livelihoods depend on 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And they might, you know, they might have a girlfriend first block, break up second block, be back together third block, and break up again before practice. And you're like, what is wrong with him today? And like,
oh yeah.
You know, it's just all kind of things that and today with social media and everything else that they have to deal with that we didn't, they do have a lot that they deal with that the average person probably just doesn't think about.
Yeah, it's constantly thrown in their face. I mean, I have a former player of mine that's in college now, and he read some things, you know, negative about him on social media. And I said, buddy, man, like Nick Saban described it perfect, man. It's rat poison. You know what I'm saying? And I'm 39, but I'm thankful it really wasn't a big deal when I was in high school or in college, social media. So I can only imagine what would have been written about me, and having to read stuff from guys that, you know, they're in mama's basement, you know, but they're going to tweet about something, you know what I'm saying? So it's just awful. Some of the things these kids got, it never leaves them, because, you know, you lose the game on Friday night, or you don't play well, or you give up a big play, and heck, you're reading about it all day Saturday and Sunday.
Well, I tell the kids all the time, it's crab basket mentality, and a lot of the kids I've coached, they don't know what a crab basket is. So we Google it, and I show them, and I'm like, as you can see, there is no lid on a crab basket. And they're like, well, that's stupid. And I said, no, because if one crab tries to get out of the basket, the other ones will pull him back down and won't let him get out. And that's how our society is. It's a whole lot easier to tear people down than it is to build them up, because then you start, you know, magnifying your inadequacies and things that you didn't accomplish. And, man, our society loves doing that.
That's right. That's right. It's awful.
And that's not what kids need. I mean, it's hard enough. It's like, you know, and I don't really care. I'm old. I've been doing it a long time. I'm over it. But people sitting in the stands raising Cain and, you know, saying whatever they say, or getting on the internet and saying whatever they say. And I'm like, so y'all really think that we spend all this time trying to come up with the worst plays we could run?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Coach Chumley tells a great story about that. He had a daddy one time, and just all over him and this and that. So he brought him in. He said, all right, listen, I want you to draw up a formation. And first, I want you to tell me how many guys need to be start on the line of scrimmage. He said, well, Coach Chumley, I don't really know that question. He said, well, then we can't have this conversation. You can go now.
Yeah. Or, you know, I watched so-and-so do this. Well, yeah, it's like going to a coaching clinic and listening to college coaches tell us, you know, well, we have a whatever 6'5", 260-pound guy plays here, and this guy looks like this, and he plays here. And it's like, hey, buddy, could you show me what you do with a 5'9", 160-pound kid that tries really hard?
Yeah,
That's what I got.
5'8", 40.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm dealing with. What kind of drills you got for those guys?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or, I remember one time there was a young coach. He asked a question. He was like, well, Coach, what if that kid can't play the dive and the quarterback? And he just kind of looked up like, I get another one.
Yeah.
well, yeah, we don't have that.
We don't have that. We can't do that, guys.
So there's a lot of that goes on. I was in class the other day. I share a classroom with another teacher, and because I co-teach, and we're both SPED co-teachers, and he saw that I had huddle pulled up, and he was like, now what is this? I mean, he's a super fan now. He goes, he goes to everything. He's a great guy. He supports the kids no matter what. He's like you said, if they're having a play, he's there. Softball, he's there. I mean, he's just supports the kids. And I said, well, this is what we use to break down film, and the kids have access to it. And he's like, so they can see this? Yes, sir, every day. And he was like, wow, makes you wonder how they ever make mistakes. And you're like, no, because they're kids. Yeah, we know what's coming. We know what they're going to do. We
read that multiple times. But
heck, believe it or not, we practice that.
Yep.
Might not look like it on Fridays. But.
Well, I've been there before where it looks like we didn't practice a lick, but we practice it over and over again. But
like you said, can't get it wrong.
Oh, yeah, and our livelihood is dependent on the 15 through 18-year-old executing a game plan.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what did how has spring practice and summer preparation changed for you at the 3 stops? Or have you kind of kept it the same?
I kept it the same, and it was I kept it the same coming into Calvary, and it was kind of new because they never really did spring practice. Coach Stroud is just an old school 2 scrimmage guy. They did some sort of like kind of combine type thing. They ran 40s and did things like that for when the college coaches came. And I said, listen, new coach, I want to kind of come in here and create a buzz, and let's do spring football. I also like it too, because spring is when, this during the season, we kind of have our hand on them all the time, and we can, run them and sit them and do everything in between. So we kind of have, our hand around their throat a little bit more than in the spring when it's, weather's getting warmer again and everybody's ready to get out of school, and that's when people get in trouble. So I just love doing spring practice, for that reason also. And, I said, what, we're going to do spring. I actually reached out to Franklin Stevens and asked him to play a game, and we got that set up on a date that was good for both of us. And I was ready to play without my starting quarterback. And I almost did. Calvary won a state championship in baseball, and I think he practiced 3 days and wound up playing about a quarter or 2. But it was kind of just bigger than that for me. I just wanted to kind of get in there, get hands on the kids really, really quick as the guy in charge, and get my new staff members involved also. And it was a huge success for us. It was an awesome spring. We kind of saw where we were at, and summer came in, and 4 days a week, kind of standard, nothing crazy. A few 7-on-7s in June. Went to Calvary's first padded camp. We went to Statesboro High School for a padded camp, which was really cool. And then kind of slid it right into the acclimation period.
Yeah, the spring thing, especially for a school the size of Calvary, you're sharing athletes. Like you said, your quarterback's over there playing baseball. You got kids running track. You got kids playing golf 100%. And tennis, and it gives some of those younger kids some reps, though. And that was my thing.
So we brought some of our, the 8th graders that were at Calvary came and participated. So that was awesome, getting them kind of acclimated early. And then it wasn't about, and we were playing Burke County, which is probably a dumb decision on my part. I gave first-year defense coordinators, Coach Myros, and, Coach Chumley's on our defensive staff too, a great game plan to prepare for with their wing T stuff. But, to me, I didn't really care what the result of the game was. It was just more like, man, we're going to get 10 days with these guys, and we're going to enjoy every minute of it.
Well, another thing too, and we've mentioned this several times, it's come up with guys, is when you OTA with people and go to padded camps, or you do a spring game, and even your scrimmages, it's good to do them with somebody like Frank because they get it.
Yes.
They're not, he probably could care less if they win the spring game.
Coach,
and they're not going to try to beat you by 1,000. And if you say, hey, we're going to play the young coaches, or we're going to play the young kids this quarter, you don't have to look out there and like, well, that's the biggest 9th grader I've ever seen.
Exactly. Coach, we gave each other formation, plays. Like, it wasn't, we didn't want to prep for each other. It wasn't like, hey, I wonder if he's going to run that belly option stuff that he showed last year. Like, no, it was like, Coach, we're running this. The quarterbacks were dead, so we didn't,
right.
It wasn't like we had to worry about quarterbacks. Coach, these are the formations I'm going to run. These are the plays I'm going to run. even front on defense, too high. We gave each other everything just so we could focus on ourselves for 9 days in a game.
Absolutely.
So you're definitely right. I've always been skeptical about padded camps also. And when I was at Vidalia, Coach Parker called me, the previous coach at Burke, and he asked me to come to the padded camp, and I was like, I didn't feel good about it. I was always scared of getting somebody hurt. And he said, Coach, I can't promise no one's going to get hurt, but I can promise you that it's going to be run right. And it was an awesome experience. And I'll do I actually contacted Coach Martin about coming next year, possibly to Toombs, to do it, because I heard he runs a great one.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. You know what's slower than a pace car? Waiting at the car wash. That's when I fire up Chumba Casino. It turns those slow minutes into fast fun. With new games every week, you'll never get bored. Next time you're stuck in the slow lane, speed up with Chumba. Play now at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. We went this year, and Metter was there, and East Lawrence, and us, and Hepzibah from Augusta came down.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, there was – and it is run – Hawkinsville was there, and it is done properly. We went to one at Putnam County this year, too, and we actually spent the night in the gym and stayed up there.
Awesome.
And, yeah, it was awesome until the lights didn't go off, and it was about 40 degrees in the gym. But, I mean, the kids liked it, and it was good. We got to see, like – Sequoia was there, and Putnam was there, and
good schools.
Baldwin was there, and there were schools there that our kids had no idea. They're like, Sequoia, where is that? And we're like, it's up north of Atlanta, and they're like, that's like another state. To our kids, they've never been anywhere, so it was pretty cool. They got it.
Well, that was when I was at Vidalia, I scrimmaged Calvary. Because same thing. I knew Coach Stroud would never embarrass me, and he was. Those 2 years we scrimmaged Calvary, they were loaded. I'm talking about dudes everywhere. Jake Merklin was the quarterback, Mike Smith the tight end. He's at Tennessee, Mike's at South Carolina. They had guys everywhere. Their D line was massive, but I just and my coaches were kind of looking at me like I was crazy, and I'm like, guys, these Vidalia kids half time they don't leave Vidalia, Toombs County, Swainsboro, Dublin. Let's get them down to Savannah, let them play. This caliber football. And like I said, I know Coach Stroud would never embarrass me. I said it's going to be a great experience for our kids. And it was great. Like we wouldn't play another team that was like Calvary all season.
Well, we went to Georgia Tech for the 707 this year, and I would say the vast majority of our kids have never been to Atlanta. So we're driving through downtown Atlanta, Jack, and they're like, where is Georgia Tech? It's in downtown Atlanta.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, this is it, guys. And they, and they had the indoor, and all that stuff. Yeah. And there was from Kell to Hoco to Rome to, us. People were walking up going, where's Dodge County? And we're like, well, do you know where Dublin is? And they're like, oh, yeah, we passed that on I-16 going to the beach. Okay, well, we're near there. Because they didn't know, and they didn't know who we were, and our kids were just, and they didn't get big time. Once they got out there and started competing, they were okay.
And football's football, man.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was fun for them to see, like, because another thing about the kids now with social media is they're like, oh, there's Jason Cameron. He's that 5-star receiver.
Yep.
Man, he ain't that good. Or, oh, yeah, he's a dude. It was, you got the gamut of them comparing themselves to other kids they'd seen and read about on Rivals and things like that. Just a good experience. And I believe personally that one of our biggest things as high school coaches that we should be doing is providing a good experience. Can't guarantee we're going to win. But I do have some control over whether or not your child has a good experience.
And it's like, I'll tell you that talking about experience, we did something that I've never done before. Coming into Calvary, like the culture was set, it was great, but I wanted to just continue to expand on it because unfortunately, when you have some of these, these highly recruited kids, you could have a team of individuals sometimes, or at least 2 or 3 that are kind of on the outskirts. We took our kids to Marshview Bible School, I believe it was called Bible Camp. I'm sorry, down in Midway, Georgia. And we spent the night all together, Coach. It was probably, and we just called it our kind of culture building retreat. We didn't have an itinerary, Coach. They had a pond. They had a back area where the kids were fishing. You had kids from all ways of life on kayaks together, wrestling in the water, just enjoying each other's time. We built team goals afterwards. We did a big, huge team dinner, a team movie, but that about 24 hours that we were there was a huge point in our season, and it happened in June. We developed so many bonds on that trip. The kids absolutely loved it. It's probably, I will do it as long as I'm a head coach. I will do that every single year to start the season.
Well, that's awesome, because that's an experience that they'll remember that more than they remember what happened, game 2 in the second half.
They still talk about it. We reference it at times. We won 2 really tight. We beat Oceanside Collegiate out of South Carolina. They actually just beat Dutch Fork, which was the number 1 team in South Carolina. We beat them 59-49 in a complete shootout. And after the game, and it was just up and down. We jumped out early. They jump up on us. It was just a roller coaster ride. And after the game, you had like 3-4 kids say, "Coach, this all fell back on what we talked about during our retreat about team." And I was like, man, it just made me smile, man. It just made it even more like such a success it was.
Well, how's the season gone? I know y'all dropped a tough one last week, and you're on a bye week. But what were your thoughts going into this season, and how are things working out so far?
We were young. I don't think that's what people don't. We have 8 seniors. One's a kicker he's awesome, but he's a kicker, and I lost 2 to injury. So we're kind of rolling with a super, super young talent. Now my junior class is super talented. Got a really good young nucleus, but at times, we show our youth. And I thought that happened a little bit Friday. Some showed our youth some, but they are a phenomenal group of kids. They are just so bought into what we're talking about. They work really, really hard, and they're a very tight knit group. It's crazy because we lost, and I've been part of losses before where kids show their behind a little bit or highly upset and almost uncontrollable at times. Now they were angry now and they were upset, but man, just the vibe with them about like, hey man, we got to come closer together than ever now. Hey, chins up, this and that. Hey, all we could do is go back to work on Monday. It was just a really, really good vibe in the locker room, and it's a really, really good group of kids. I think we'll be, if we continue to improve and continue to progress, I think hopefully we hit the ground running come playoff time.
Yeah, that was something we talked about with our loss, and we got beat. I mean, there was ain't no nice way to say it. Ain't no excuses. Their heart speed was higher than ours. They made fewer mistakes than us, and we lost the 3rd, 4th game of the season. But then we started thinking, well, this could be a blessing, because
that's right.
It pointed out some things that we had to get corrected, and things that, it's not going to kill you early. And we'd much rather try to address this stuff week 3, week 4, week 5 than week 9, going into the playoffs or trying to get into the playoffs. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, we have the wrong person playing here, or, we need to do a better job of how we handle situational offense or situational defense or whatever it may be.
Yeah, heck, ours is red zone offense. That's been our focus these last 2 days in the bye week. Was we were in the red zone 4 times and kicked 4 field goals. Just can't happen, and it was a mix of play calls. It was a mix of not making plays. It was a mix of the right play call, wrong read. So we're like, what? We're gonna get to the drawing board, and we're gonna dissect and dive into our red zone offense. And we are going to dissect our overall, ability to cover and tackle in space. We've tackled in space a ton this week because we think that's our biggest deficiency this first about 4 games.
So who do you guys play coming out of the bye week?
Well, it's funny. Our schedule is all over the place. I talk about Oceanside, and then we have to play Southeast Bullock. So you go Oceanside's 5 wide, and they threw it 50 times. Southeast Bullock is football in a phone booth. Then you go Jenkins is a little bit of both. And now we go Long County Power T.
Power T. Boy, Feaster.
Oh yeah, man. So it's all over the place, man. But it's fun. That's why people talk about our region, and we have a 9-team region. So we went out and scheduled the best we could possibly schedule from South Carolina, and it was a great experience. But our region is super multiple in what you face week in and week out. Like I just went through it. It's Southeast Bullock split back veer, and now like Jenkins is a mix of 10 personnel spread and then gets in the wing T, and now you got to go to Long comes to us, but that power team and Coach Feaster just keeps adding layers to the offense, like play action pass game and different ways that he disguises runs. It's heck to prepare for.
Yeah, that's like this week we get to see a 4-2-5, and I'm so glad I get to see an even front, because I'm so sick of seeing. I'm so sick of seeing a 3-4 that I'm to the point with my offensive lineman that I'm like, really? Figure it out. I mean, it's the same thing it's been every week, son. We're going to ace to the -1. We're gonna kick this guy out. We're going to rap to this guy, and it hasn't changed. At least this week, I'm like, I don't know what he's going to be in. He might be a 3. He might be a shade. You're going to have to figure it out.
That's right.
And I love it. And, I get to look at the quarterback every now and go, hey, we'd really prefer to run power away from the A-gap defender. So it's a lot easier for my center to block back on a shade than it is a 3.
Take back a 1 at a 3. Yep.
So if we call it wrong, if you could fix that for us, that'd be great. And the OC and the quarterback's coach are looking at me like, why is he talking to the quarterback? And I'm like, oh, yeah, and also your protection is going to change. They have 6, we have 5. So we can block. I mean, if we read one out, but if it's pass pro, hey, buddy, you might want to make sure you get this right.
Yeah, I'm about to say, we can't account for that guy. He's on you, bud.
Yeah. And my OC's like, we argue all the time about the count. And he's like, you've got 7. And I'm like, 7? He's like, yeah, the quarterback, the running back. And I'm like, they're not in the count. They don't block. I'm like, I tell you what, we can read this guy out. That gets us down to 5. I can block those 5. You just tell me which 5 you want us to block. We'll handle those 5.
I'm like your OC. I still think if there's a 6-man front, I'm still 7 on 5 because I'm going to read one, and they got to account for the quarterback and the running back, and I'm with your OC. Okay, well that must be a higher level thinking thing because I am not a high level thinker, and he's extremely good at getting matchups and seeing those kind of things. Where I'm still old school, where I'm like, look, man, this is what this defense is. This is what it doesn't like. Let's do what it doesn't like. That's valuable too now. That's valuable. I don't know if you've ever crossed paths with have you ever crossed paths with Jeb Stewart?
Oh yeah.
So I brought, Jeb coached with me at Jenkins. That was one of my home run hires when I was at Jenkins, and he stepped away from coaching. He's killing it in real estate in Savannah. So when I got the job, I called him. I said, man, let's get you back into some coaching, some good football again. And he's like, man, you know what? I'm going to do it. And he's been awesome. He coaches tight ends for me. He's up top on Friday nights, and he's been an awesome part of our staff. And he's 32 years in the game, and he thinks like you now though, but he's evolved, man. He's just a great offensive mind, just football mind, man. He's definitely he's made our staff really, really good.
The only thing I think I've contributed all year is we played a team that was running the veer, and I was the scout team quarterback because we didn't have anybody that understood how to read the midline.
That's what I do.
Or do that. And I was like, I tell you what, I'm 52 years old, but I can still read the midline. Now,
No
I'm not
doubt.
going to keep it. I'm not going to keep it and do anything, but I know when to hand it off and when to pull it.
Coach, that's the only thing I brought to the table Southeast Bullock Week. That was it. I didn't know what the defensive scheme was. I'm a hands off. I got Donald Shumley over there, Coach Myros over there. I trust them, but I was the scout team quarterback. That's all I did.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. And as a lot of these guys that I've had here recently, I've told them all the same thing, and I honestly mean it. It's fantastic to know that we've got good men pouring in time to these young people and that care more about it, just the football, and they care about them mentally, physically, and spiritually as well. And it just makes me feel a whole lot better about the future of our profession here in the state of Georgia.
Coach, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Coaches
Podcast
is proudly brought to you by Titan Sensor. Season 7.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21+. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.